Alrighty, hello YouTube. How is everyone doing? Uh, Obviously, if you do not know who this is, I am JP Dunphy. I am the BMW genius here at BMW of Fort Washington, and we will be making this especially interesting. So, first and foremost, can everyone hear me that is currently watching? Thank you for tuning in. I know this is a little bit of a different time than normal. First and foremost, sorry, getting an echo here. Can everyone hear me okay? I just want to make sure this is a completely different setup that I've done before. So again, testing different setups to see what works best. As of right now, I literally have two screens, one on this side, one on this side. This is my live screen on this side. So if you see me looking over here, that's what's happening there. I have my images on this side, as well as other stuff I'll go over and there, as well as my production notes directly below me right here, and camera up at the top between two screens. So it's a lot of fun here. Again, I'm currently using StreamYard to see if this is a good system. If it's good, I'm going to end up actually buying this and making it work long term. Yeah, thank you so much. Kevin, thank you as well. So yeah, I can see all of your stuff over here. So if you see me looking over here, I can basically go over here and click and see, hey, there you guys are. So I can pull your stuff up quick and easy and be able to go through stuff. Trying something new where I'm actually putting the various content notes that I'm going to do below. So this little ticker that's happening below is going to go over some of the things I'm going to do in the live stream here. I am live at work. This is my little, I won't say office, but it's open so people can come by. So if someone comes by in the midstream, that's what's happening. And I might need to temporarily talk to them just because we do have people coming in as we go all the time. But yes, so today's stream, we're going to be doing, excuse me, going over a couple things. And again, I'll show you some visual aids as we go through. I'm going to be covering BMW's EV strategy, if it's working, whether it's not working, what the market's doing on that front, BMW's M5 wagon, what we know about it so far, some of the BMW's group products that's coming out, as well as the 2025 X3, what we know about it so far, and the Neue class of BMWs, what's been coming out, including the new iX3 that kind of ties into the X3 as well going forward. So that's what's going to be going over in this. If you're coming in later in the stream, hopefully you'll be able to look at this little guy on the bottom here and see that and work accordingly. So let's just dive right in here. First and foremost, BMW's EV strategy is pretty darn good in my opinion, especially compared to the rest of the EV market out there. So if you listen to anything that's online, everyone basically says outright EV sales are dropping. Now they're using Tesla as that main, metric to say like, oh, EV sales are dropping. They're really not. And I have some of our own stuff here. I have something from Kelly Blue Book, which I'll go over, as well as BMW's own sales numbers, and be able to show that I don't think so much a factor of electric vehicles are dropping by any means. They are taking up a larger share than they were before. It's growing year over year. I think what's happening is that the saturation of EV models is growing, and therefore people realize that there's something more than just the three options. Excuse me. Than just the three options from Tesla. Four options now, five options from Tesla, and that people actually have choices. So I think that's part of driving this whole thing. So overall, BMW's EV sales have risen by 41%. That outperforms a lot of the rivals like Tesla out there. EVs have accounted for 15% of BMW's total deliveries last year and are expected to reach 20% by this. I'm so sorry, I have something stuck in my throat. Reach 20% by this year's end. According to our reports, BMW's EV sales have surged by an impressive 41% in the first quarter of 2024 alone. And of course, BMW is outperforming its rivals like Tesla and Volkswagen, both of which have kind of faltered a little more in their EV demands in the market. BMW's models like the i4, the iX1, not sold here in the US, but over in Europe, and the i7 have registered a 41% growth in the first 3 months of 2024 compared to the same period last year. So that rise in BMW's EV comes at a time when Everyone else seems to be dropping, semi precipitously, if not incrementally enough to notice. And things like, Ford is pulling back some of their EV stuff, and Volkswagen has seen a 3% drop in their registered EV sales in this same period where we've seen 41% growth. Mercedes has seen a decline of about 8% in the first quarter of 2024. And it's also, kind of that same, them dropping and us rising has allowed us to improve our share, BMW share, by 1.3%. That puts us slightly above Mercedes-Benz share, and Volkswagen's share price has remained about the same. And of course, anyone who follows Tesla, they've seen a drop of about 4.4%. Um, all the reports of BMW doing that 15% of EVs being 50% of BMW's total deliveries does not include PHEVs. That's only rising, which is, of course, good stuff to hear. And BMW is looking to boost that number across the three brands, BMW, Mini, and Rolls-Royce, with 15 full electric models by the end of this year. And of course, that's going to be expanding with the Neue class as well coming up, which I'll go over later in this episode. And yeah, I mean, everything on that front is looking good. If we want to get more specific about those numbers, BMW has sold 375,716 fully electric cars in 2022 to consumers, and that's really fantastic. If you include the plug-in hybrids, that skyrockets to 565,875 cars, EVs, and that covers electric vehicles as well as plug-in hybrid vehicles, and that's 22% of all cars sold by BMW group of cells. A lot of the BMW representatives over the last have warned that they don't expect EV choice to be a binary one, which BMW has done with their entire approach, which is why I think BMW is successfully growing as opposed to shrinking like a lot of the competitors that have basically binary of, here's your gas model and here's your electric model, and there's nothing in between. So because BMW is doing their style as a EV plug-in hybrid and standard one, which by the way, if you didn't know, BMW is not stopping gas motors. All right. Mini as a brand will be transitioning to full EV sub-brand by 2030, or at least that's what they're saying. And we've seen that with their current growth and what they expect to do. I personally would love to see them come back on the Neue class platform with a Clubman coming back as a four-door kind of wagon. I would love to see that. I really hope they do that. But that's not about them. It's more about BMW in this particular thing. So, in terms of people owning EVs, obviously, any of you guys that are watching, if you own an EV, I'd love to hear about your stuff in the comments, and we can go over those. I'll highlight you as you come in. And basically, the number one thing that most people say they have issues with is either charging at home, so people that don't live in a single family home or don't have access to a charger where they live or where they work. They're obviously less likely to take EVs. People that travel a lot in a day. Now, it has been said that the average drive for most people is between 40 and 45 miles a day. That's well within an EV range and level 1 charging if that's all you're driving. So that's not really the problem. The other thing is a lot of people are worried about the EV charging infrastructure. Completely valid excuse, and I completely understand that. If you don't own Tesla, obviously you don't have Tesla's very easy plug-in charge situation, but BMW, as well as a bunch of other manufacturers, are working on expanding our EV charging stations to make them just as prolific as gas stations. So that may take up to 5 years to fully roll out, maybe by 2028, 2030, around there. We'll see if that's the way it works out and pans out. But if that's the way it happens, obviously it might take a little longer to get to that point, but it will be there and we will show it. Now, if you don't believe all around, let me show you a little something here. So this little guy here, in case you didn't see, I always make sure that people can see exactly what I search for so that we have the same information. So if you do it, you'll find the same thing. So I just searched EV car trends 2023. Excuse me. And according to Kelley Blue Book, 2023 saw the first year that U.S. EV sales surpassed 1 million sales. That's a growth of 47% from 2022, and 1.2 million of those EVs were sold in the US of that year. So that's a good thing. 7.6% of the total US market is not bad. That's up from 5.9% in 2022. And of course, the main thing, the biggest news that you can see, which of course contradicts everything you're seeing out there, is that the first quarter of 2024, EVs are selling a massive amount more that are coming out. In the first quarter of 2023 alone, the sales record increased in both volume and share to 8.1% of the total market. 2024 is looking to be even more. So if I pop this guy over to 2024, let's see if I can find that whole thing. I know, yeah. Plugs and charge stations, all the things we expect to see. But let's see if we can find where our current value is at. Of course, continue to rise, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for the actual percentage. Again, they're predicting it may hit about 24%, which would be interesting to see, but that's neither here or there. With that, let's move on to a little bit of a little different side note here. So the BMW i5, super exciting. And the most important thing about all that is, of course, the i5 Touring. Now, of course, this is just a render from BMW blog itself, but I'm a big fan of this thing. I love the way it looks. This is currently showing the best render that we have as of right now, just because everything that's from BMW themselves, if I go into BMW's own stuff, all their stuff is still covered and or done out in such a way that we get everything else, basic body lines, everything we might expect. But this is sort of what they're showing at the moment. And if you take away all of the camo, this is probably one of the better ways of looking at it, front and back. I'm not sure about this little bit down here, but we'll see all in all. Obviously, this is stylized. I am super excited. Obviously, we've had a few generations of the i5 Touring and or in the US wagon out here. I've been waiting for BMW to bring this back. I really hope that they end up bringing the M3 wagon over as well, just because I'd love to see an M3 manual rear-wheel drive wagon come out. I don't think that's going to happen, but it'd be nice if that actually does. Obviously, if you don't buy it, they don't make it, and if there's no interest, it doesn't happen. So BMW is bringing this over. A nice thing about this, because it does share a lot of its features with the rest of the 5 Series range out there, that does mean that I do predict that probably by either 2025 or maybe as a mid-cycle refresh for the current 5 Series that's out there, they might bring in, or maybe as a middle of the mid-cycle refresh, they might bring in, I can very easily see, because of how this is done up, I could very easily see them making a 550e wagon as that comes out. I'd be really excited to see that. It's a great way to kind of get into the situation without spending, $160,000 or wherever they might price out the G90 M5 Touring to be. So I really look forward to that and look forward to see how they're going to go about that. With that, let's go into some of the Neue class stuff here. So this is from BMW's own. If you didn't see, let me jump out of this real quick again. I am getting this information from BMW News, BMW USA News.com. This is all easily found on there. So all the stuff that I'm looking at, you can look at yourself in real time and be able to enjoy it as much as anyone else. So this is basically the new iX3 coming out as the Neue class. They're calling it the Neue class Vision X. It has a lot of fun full of features on the inside here. The one thing you'll probably notice is that the steering wheel itself has a little tiny bit on the top and bottom. That's because they don't have an instrument cluster in this version of it, and I personally love that. This entire black bar that you'll see along the top here, This is your entire instrument cluster instead up here at the top, and of course your control display. Everything can be changed on that instrument cluster by simply dragging and dropping, and that gets added into little tiny zones up at the top, which will make this extremely exciting and very customizable for every owner, not only for you, but for passengers as well. Yeah, I agree. Semi Prius vibes. I would think it's, you know, easier and better interaction than Prius, but yes, in terms of how they're sort of putting more things up in your visual field, so it's more kind of up here rather than having to look down. I'm over exaggerating, but yes, the idea there being that it gives you more visibility, better information closer to where you need it, and of course, they have some augmented reality kind of things that are going directly on the screen itself. I can't remember if they show that concept in here of the actual drive as it goes, but they have that. By the way, as a quick side note, is it easier to see this information from here, or do you prefer this kind of setup where I can kind of point to things from over here and get my little cursor on the actual screen itself? Do you guys have a preference on this? Actually, that's a really interesting point. So, Anthony, I'm going to highlight your little thing right here. Anthony said, sick of electric cars, no soul left, and it's going to be a battle of the interiors. I'm not sure exactly how much of that is going to be true, only because, I mean, across the spectrum, probably yes. You're actually probably right. As more people go electric, they're putting more into um, that, like the electric drivetrain itself, rather than interiors, especially because they're trying to keep it to a price point. I personally, from what I've seen and the interaction I've had with the iDrive 10 stuff so far, I have had the chance to actually see some of these cars in person, interact with them a little bit, not to the degree that these kind of promo videos do, but they are making a much more interesting interior and more personalizable inside, as well as sounds and all that. Obviously, Hans Zimmer has hand in the current one, making things a little bit better. But then one thing that I do notice about BMW's own thing, and I'll show some of my exterior kind of view of this. Actually, let me jump out of this and hop over to the exterior view here. Come on, load up. So the exterior view that they have, if you look at the, pause this for a quick second. If you look at the side here, they're doing something differently. So normally, along the side, they usually have the entire greenhouse would be up here and higher on the shoulder, but instead they have this whole thing dipped down. That gives you a better view of the road outside, which I personally love all around. And I'm a big fan of that altogether. Greg, love to hear that. Love the new 5 Series. You know, I'm curious if you're enjoying the four cylinder altogether. Obviously, it is a little bit heavier car. I don't know if you noticed anything, if you had a previous 530 or anything like that, but I'd be curious to hear if you are enjoying that 4 cylinder in those cars. Obviously, the interior is nice, newer 7 Series style esque, and much more usable, which I personally love a lot. But again, I'm gonna go full screen so you can see a little more of what I'm showing here. But again, this entire section right here, if you follow my cursor, they're making it much more livable and usable, and just a broader sense of the world outside. So your drive can now be about other things on top of it. All right, Anthony, let's go back to you here for a quick second. So yeah, F10 530, best car. Move to the F22 M240. Ooh, nice. Big fan. Big fan of the new 2024 240. Do wish they had iDrive 8 in it though. I don't. Not that iDrive or 8.5 rather. Not that iDrive not 8 is a bad thing. I personally like the user interface of iDrive 8.5 just a little more than iDrive 8. Obviously, I have iDrive 8 in my i4 myself, and yeah, I'm very entertained by the F10 530 535 as best car. I do love the motor in that. That thing had a great uh, the N55 and N54 motors, and those were really nice and beautiful cars. They sounded great, made it fantastic. And I do think the transmissions were a little bit nicer. I didn't like that they seemed to make the F10 a little softer than I would have liked personally, but you know, obviously you're moving from a 5 Series to a 2 Series, so you like the smaller, more nimble cars. And, it's awesome. I love that. I absolutely love that. Greg, let's go to your comment right here. True. Guess more about luxury. The new 5 definitely does cover that. And of course, it still gives you the sporty side when you want that all around. i4. Now, if I'm comparing the i4 to the to M240 that you have right now, depends on which one you get. I do think that the instant torque is a little more fun. I don't think it sounds as good. The M240, in my opinion, sounds better all around. And obviously, the i4 compared to the M240, you feel the weight difference. It's a very prominent thing if you are coming from the cars that you came in from the F10 to the F22, now into the new G chassis 2 Series. You're going to notice that it's definitely a heavier car. I do think the dynamics are still there in the i4. If you haven't had the opportunity, definitely go drive one. If you're doing that and you want something that's going to be comparable to it, I highly suggest doing either an i4 xDrive 40, so you get kind of at least a similar power to weight feel, a little bit more excitable, and should be a kind of more comparable feel in comparison to the two. Greg, let's take a look at your thing here. It's moving perfectly fine. Yeah, 1,000%, 1,000% right. Yeah, Mercedes and a lot of our competitors do have you pay for a lot more things right off the bat. Now, because you do have iDrive 8.5, not iDrive 9 in it, after 4 years you do pay, but if you're leasing only, that's not going to be a factor for you or any other owner going forward, which makes it a much easier thing to live with all around. But getting back to this one, I'm curious to see what you guys think of this. I don't know if you just saw that little tiny bit on the front. So BMW with the Neue Class here is replacing a lot of things like chrome and such with light instead. I'm kind of on the fence on how much I like this particular thing. I do love that it's not massive, so it's easily recognizable, quick and easy as a BMW itself. It's not massive like on the iX, but still keeps the same kind of proportions that I like. I like they're kind of going smaller with it altogether, which is kind of up on my front. And I love that it's kind of 3D styling. They keep the kind of halo for headlights view. The main headlight's obviously housed right in here, but I like that they can actually light it up to make it easily visible, or as you'll see in a second, it's going to go black here, so it can be a shadow line, but still keep the same concept. So I'm a big fan of that all around and how it just works. The front end obviously is front lower splitter, gives you lots of kind of views of the eye. Excuse me. Gives you lots of views sort of similar to the new X2. So if you like that, yay. If you don't, not much you can do about that. All around, that's sort of where their electric cars are going. So if you didn't know, the Neue Class is going to be a fully electric lineup. It is a modular platform, so this can cover everything from an iX1 to an iX3, an iX7 with 3 rows, potentially a replacement for the iX as they come forward. I'm not sure if they're going to actually transition the iX to this all around, or if these are going to technically be part of the i platform. So like, for instance, the i20, the i3, things of that nature. But interior of these, this doesn't give it justice for what it actually looks like in person. So when Anthony says horrific design, I do suggest seeing in videos and pictures doesn't do it the same justice as seeing in person. It is much nicer in person, and I felt that way about a lot of the BMWs here. I do find it especially funny with this, how they basically took exactly the hey, wait, go back. I'm trying to talk about something here. How they took these little guys. They're basically carbon copies of the Mustang Mach-E. Like, direct copies. Direct. Straight from it. It's the front handle. It's just put on the front and back. Now, I enjoy that just because it cleans up the sidelines. Although I really don't think that there's much of a need to go to this extreme, only because I don't see the aerodynamic benefit being that high to do this kind of a changeover. But obviously, you know, we'll see. So, Greg, I don't like how you can tell the difference on the road between gas and electric cars. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you could say that. I don't think they didn't really do that with the 5 Series. It's really hard pressed to find the difference between the electric 5 Series versus the upcoming plug-in 5 Series and the gas-powered 5 Series. I mean, they're doing all that a lot. They are trying to make these very specifically different designs and a different design language, simplifying things a lot for the newer Neue class all around. That's really cool. I don't know if you guys saw that because it was so short up here, but let me jump back here for a second. They have the camera side mirrors, so it actually does a visual aspect inside the car. I don't think that's going to make it into production, at least with you know the U.S. class, just because we have different laws on the books, which makes it a lot harder on there. And it's like a Kia, the BMW logo. I don't know. You know the funny thing about that? I don't know if you noticed, but Kia's main guy, like Kia and Hyundai's N performance guy, used to work for BMW. So it makes sense that they would have a very similar design language as they're coming out to kind of make that. Well, the classic logo is still there. I think the only difference is instead of having something that's on it, they're actually etching it in. So on these ones, it's actually etched into the sheet metal itself, making it a little more visually appealing for that. And I think they're kind of trying to stick to a simplistic design and go more with a um, visual cues rather than overall design. So all that what that does is that makes that car more aerodynamically efficient. Like for instance, the um, current mini or sorry, I should rephrase upcoming mini Countryman EV that's coming out. The Countryman EV that's based on the iX1 has a drag coefficient of 0.26. That's really really low, especially compared to a lot of the other manufacturers that are out there. And I personally love that. I think it looks really good. Oh, I hate chia seeds. Chia seeds are the worst. They get stuck in my teeth. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I'm not sure if a lot of people kind of go over when it comes to BMW. I mean, I personally like to kind of hawk this about BMW is that um, BMW's entire thing with kind of like ethos with all this is they're making a move to excuse me to make these cars significantly more sustainable than a lot of our competitors. Even if you look back to the 2021 sustainability report that they put out, all of our, I mean, every single one of BMW's plants, whether they're making EVs, plug-in hybrids, or full gas cars, they're all run on green energy themselves. The old plant where BMW used to build out their i3s. That's literally done in a plant that is hydropowered as well as wind powered, and all the excess money they actually make more energy from those um, renewable sources that power the Porsche plant. So if you bought a Porsche, chances are it was actually built using BMW's green energy right down the street. So they all are on the same thing. So that's a fun little fact for that. Let's hear. No, not for your views, especially. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Greg. I apologize, guys. Give me one quick second here. I need to get this stuck out of my throat. Whew. Holy crap. All right, Anthony, back to you. Yeah. All right. So the M240, even though you got a 2024, doesn't get it because it's still running off of something called MGU 21. So that's the head unit that's inside of it altogether. The MGU 21 head unit can't run it because of a certain lack of RAM and some internal limitations to it. Now there's a kind of a caveat to that because certain cars, like there are a couple 7 Series and iXs, X5s, X6s that came out in 2023 that had MGU 2020, MGU 22, but were still running iDrive 8. Those were upgradable, but because of the hardware difference, these older ones don't have the ability to upgrade to it, which kind of stinks. I'm not sure if they'll find a way to change it via software only to make it look like iDrive 8 and maybe just not have the same amount of um, touch response as iDrive 8.5. So I I would love for that to happen because my i4 has iDrive 8 and I really wish I could get 8.5, but I don't see it happening based on what they've been doing right now. Obviously, similar to a lot of other people out there, they've a lot of manufacturers out there for like cell phones and everything else. They push to make changes in a short amount of time, whereas cars used to change over the course of 7 to 10 years, and maybe they'd have a mid-cycle refresh. Now the pushes seem to be not just for the cars themselves, but for the internal um, user interface and operating system that they get pushed more and more and more to do faster and more frequent updates and all that. And yeah, absolutely. Greg, let's go to you for a quick second here. Personal welcome nice for $50 in the traffic. Nice. That's pretty good. If you don't mind me asking, which one did you end up going with in terms of your welcome lights? So I'm forgetting the name of mine off the top of the three extra ones you get on the top of the head. But I personally like the fourth one because it's sort of like most aggressive, very fun, very playful as you walk up to the car. It also does your taillights if you didn't see that too, which is a lot of fun. Yep. Excellent. So the X3M 2024 still running off of the iDrive 7 stuff, which really sucks. Like, still iDrive 7 in those. So, obviously, with that, we can kind of make a little transition to what I wanted to talk about with the 2023 X3s. So, I can't remember if I actually pulled that thing up over here. They don't have anything on BMW NEWS.com, but let me see if we have. That's the overall EV fact sheet. We don't care about that right now. I was going to pull it up earlier in the podcast, but didn't want to go to that. I want to say it was Motoring File had a really good, sorry, Beamer File had a really good interior shot of the new X3. Yes, yes. Okay, so that's not what I was looking for. So I do like the way this guy does it. The website is a little over the end, a little over the top with nope, it's 2018. Where's it? 2025. Alrighty. That's what it was, Motor 1. They have a good shot of the interior here, if I'm remembering correctly. No, I'm wrong. They do not have a good shot of it. They, of course, go into the iX3 Neue Class thing that showed you guys in the past thing of this. Like for 2023. Load so I can show you guys. Let's see here. Yeah, speaking of upgrades, will the 2024X be getting active link change? I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember off the top of my head. I apologize for that. I do know that activate lane change is coming to X5, X6, X7, as well as the 7 Series for 2024 later this year. I believe that's starting in August. All around, it would make sense that the iX will be getting it because it has the same sensors as the other ones. But I apologize, I don't have a definitive answer for you at this exact moment. But there you go. This is good enough. So obviously, this is a render of the 2025 X3. Originally, this was not coming out because none of this was on the releases. So again, this is if this is going to happen, it's probably going to happen later in this year, maybe even as a 2025 model production line as of right now. Because right now, it's not coming out. It's not set for um, any of the releases that we've had so far from BMW themselves. So we're not getting that going forward on this. But what I'm looking for here is the interior. There you are. Come on, can't you make it full screen? No? All right. Anyway, so the things I want you to glance from this. I apologize again. It's not letting me go full screen with this thing, but major benefit of this is it is getting. Ooh, any of you actually show? You might show it. Oh, here we go. Bigger pictures. Wonderful. Sorry, first time doing this again on this setup, so I appreciate you guys sticking with me on this. So the newer one will be getting a longer, wider version, and it will be having iDrive 9. That is confirmed. That's getting iDrive 9, which means that anyone who wants to hold onto these things for longer, you get more features, um, and you will have BMW My BMW app connectivity for it for the lifetime of the vehicle. It's not limited to the 4 years, and then you pay after the 4 years. So BMW is doing that, but they're switching instead with this. I've made other videos about this as well in terms of BMW digital standard and digital premium. This is going to switch to that style all around. So it's going to get a lot of things standard right off the bat. You'll get digital premium as a 3-month trial. See if you like the stuff in it. If you do, you can purchase it for either $9 a month, so $9.99 a month, or $99.99 for a year. That's the pricing on it as of right now. That gives you extra things like your air console inside the car, TiVo as well. That gives you some streaming services like Pluto TV inside the car. So in that sense, it's kind of getting similar to Tesla and how they're doing their pricing for that, because Tesla Premium is the exact same pricing style for it. But that's not going to be going in that. And they're going to give you all the app stuff for the lifetime of the car, regardless of if you pay for it or not. And then all the other functionalities. It has a couple other things that are on it, but again, I suggest looking at. Oh, don't worry about that. TV in the car will only be if it's parked, not while driving. So until level 4 autonomy comes for BMW cars, right now they have level 3 testing, basically going live over in Europe. We're at about 2.5 right here in the U.S. with Highway Assistant, and Highway Assistant and eye-activated lane change. So yes. And we'll be getting a new 2024. It's unclear as of right now. So right now, it doesn't appear there's going to be any kind of an update for it, just because it is getting little things. It might be switching to iDrive 8.5 with an MGU 22 kind of head unit upgrade. I'm not sure if that's actually happening though. We haven't had any official word from BMW. Obviously, it's only rumor mill at this point, and I'm trying my best not to give any rumor mill based information. I want you guys to have as close to what's actually going to happen than anything else. Oh, hey, go away. I don't want any ads on this. Jesus. Let's hear. Love the inside camera and how it takes selfies and videos, friends in anti-theft mode, videos, and pictures on the apps on your phone if someone is messing with your car. So yes, that is something that has basically come to everything from the 7 series to 7 series, 5 series, X1, X2. They all have these features as an option on it. The iX as well, and they have external cameras as of right now for the X5, X6, and X7, but no internals. But there's a little thing for it, so they might be adding that coming soon. We'll be curious to see how that goes. Anthony. All right, I do love to hear that you absolutely love your M240, and know all about it. So because they did have their recent kind of update, outside of a head unit update to iDrive 8.5, I don't see them making any mechanical changes or anything coming anytime soon, just because it's still kind of in the starting of their life cycle as of right now. I'll be curious to see what they're going to do for the LCI for it, just because by that point they might completely bypass 8.5 and go straight to an iDrive 9, similar to in this thing that we're seeing right here in the kind of leaked interior videos of the upcoming X3 for 2025. Oh, another side note. They said that iDrive 9 will be, when they originally came out in the iX1, iX2, and the Mini Countryman, and the Mini products coming out with iDrive 9, or the Mini version of Mini OS 9. They said that it's going to be a touch display only, or at least highly focused on a touch display, with, of course, voice inputs as well. This is iDrive 9, but it still has an iDrive controller, which I find especially entertaining. So if you look right here, this thing has, so this isn't a red highlight, that's a zip tie, but this thing has the iDrive controller, so they are able to integrate iDrive controller into iDrive 9, which I think means that this will be the proliferation going into future iterations of the rest of the cars. If they end up going with iDrive 9. Again, there's still an iDrive 8 for a lot of things like the X5, X6, and X7. So I'm not sure how they'll be doing that going forward, but I'd be really curious to see it as it goes. And yes, the X2 does sort of look like a mini XM. I actually personally prefer the X2 styling over the XM, but you know, XM is a very niche car. Like let's just be very straightforward about that. It's awesome. What it is, I love everything about it. It's a very niche car. I mean, I literally sit feet from here. Let me take my webcam here and show you something. So I literally sit. One's right there, right there. So I sit by one on literally a daily basis, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, anywho, back to the rest of these. Let's see, what have we got going over here? Sorry, I'm getting a lot of comments. I love that. Thank you for being so interactive. That makes this much more fun for me as well to do these as I go forward. Red matter back exterior, nice. All right, did that one. Let's see. And I promise I'm not hiding anything. I promise I'm not. I promise. Again, all I know is rumors and such, and I don't want to put rumors out there because, rumors. So if you want, I can do a separate thing based on solely rumors and speculation on what could happen versus what is. But again, these are all live photos and stuff that's coming from these cars. So we know it's getting that. We know they're going with a flat bottom steering wheel, making this a much sportier one. They're going to the new steering wheel altogether, which means that they'll have the probably highway assistant on this, which will be fantastic. We're waiting for that on these. I don't think they're going to go all the way down to the X1, X2, where they're still doing the older version of Driver Assistance Pro. So I do think they're going to be getting Highway Assistant, which means they're also going to be getting Highway Assistant with activated lane change, or at least, again, that's personal speculation on that one. Based on the steering wheel, I think it's going to get that because this is right out of the 5 Series. So, well, actually, that might be an X1, X2, but it has the little thing on the top. I don't know. So I take it back. Now I'm not 100% sure on that. But and yeah, the XMs are definitely expensive for what they are. But if you think of all the technology that's in them, like just driving ability, they kind of have like I want to say a sand mode, which I find very entertaining. But I personally would never take one of those through like dunes or anything like that. Because, all right, Greg, let's see here. 2025 M5 Hybrid. Yep, I went over that earlier, and again, right now we only have these kind of iterations. I think it's going to look very good. I don't agree with the fact that they're basically taking the electric car, because I don't think they're coming out with an i5 wagon at all. Personal opinion, but I don't think they're doing an i5 wagon at this point, just because of the amount of money it would take to come in and the potential take rate of it. So it might be money wise prohibitively expensive to do it, but you know, we'll be curious to see just how this guy goes because obviously the new M5 over 700 horsepower, and because it's slightly lighter, it's still a heavy car. Like let's be completely honest about that. It is a heavy, heavy, heavy car. These cars are only getting heavier and bigger and all that as they grow. Sort of that's something I don't like. I mean, my first favorite cars have always been my minis because they're light under 30,000 pounds, or sorry, 3,000 pounds, 30,000 pounds. God, could you imagine 3,000 pounds? So it's under 1.5 tons. I think that's good. My personal favorite car, I had a Miata briefly before it got into an accident, and um, a lot of these newer ones, like for instance the new Countrymen, they're coming in heavy. They're heavy cars. They're the previous ones. So like the 228 Grand Coupe, those things are 3,800 pounds. They're not light, but that's one of the reasons why I love that. I had a Scion FRS also for a brief time, and that thing is 2,700. I did weight reduction to that thing and had its curb weight at 2,500 pounds. Like that was fantastic. I took out the receipts for a brief period of time. I did lightweight suspension, lightweight wheels, lightweight brakes, everything I did, everything I could possibly do. I even took off stuff from the engine bay to do everything as light as humanly possible, and was able to drop it a good amount. I miss that car because Jiminy Crickets, that plus manual transmission. Can I just say, as a general note, I despise that the only manual transmissions we have right now are slightly less powerful versions of the M cars and only M1, M2, or M2, M3, and M4. I at least still have the Z4 M40 with an M manual style setup. And if you didn't know that, I can't remember if I did that in the previous one, Ultraround, but that one also is getting, of course, staggered wheel setup. So smaller fronts, bigger rears. So it's actually getting a very close to an M setup on that. So I think that's about as close as we'll get to a Z4M in this current iteration. And it's not bad. I think it was like 3,800 pounds altogether, which actually something I want to show you guys. So um, this is something we have access to as BMW like employees. We get something called VSR, so we can show kind of more iterations, and this is eventually kind of make its way into a lot of the BMW USA build your own site, which I look forward to. So when that happens, this will be especially exciting. So let me go into here, build your own. When we do builds, so in this case, let's do a Z4 because I'm just itching to do them. There you are. Configure an M40. We get, this is basically what the configurer is online for you guys. But I'm personally just a big fan of these things. So actually, I take it back. I'm going to do this the way I love to do it. I won't be able to keep this with the manual option on the inside. I like to do a slightly lighter rooftop. And Cerium gray wheels. Ivory white interior. In case you can't tell, I've done this a couple times because I'm just flying through this thing. So yeah, I love that. And let's see if they actually have the render. So this is the part that's sort of like cool that you guys don't get on the build your own as of right now. They might be working on making this a thing, but we get these 3D renders of. They don't have everything put together. Those paints. So we obviously have a little samples that are here, and um, we get to show a whole bunch of these things, uh, basically in small swatches, which is fine, dandy, but they're not really indicative of the cars. The way they do these make these so wonderful. So if you ever want to go to your BMW dealer, ask to see the car in virtual showroom. Understand that it may not have every thing. So obviously, like I did steering gray wheels, these are not steering gray wheels. But there's a lot of the other things on here. This one has a black interior. I built a white interior. But in terms of seeing the paint, this is the best way to see a paint if you don't have it in person. And I am a massive, massive, massive fan of it. Anyway, Back to the rest show. Oh, sorry, $3,500. So let's go into here. This will give us everything that we want here. Everything's added. Ooh, this is interesting. So if I do that, let's see if they actually show the manual transmission on the interior shot. Just because I'm sorry, I'm actually doing this live with you guys because it's no, they didn't. Oh well, but yes. So this is by far the way to go. Because come on, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. It's so cool. I love it. I am such a big fan of this. Like, it's it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. I miss manual transmissions in cars. Can I just say that? I don't know if anyone from BMW themselves listen to this. I miss having manual transmissions in the everyday cars. The 3 Series with the manual, the 330 with the manual, the M340 with the manual. You know, everyone thinks they want all-wheel drive. You don't need all-wheel drive. I haven't had all-wheel drive, and I've been driving for way too long. Like, you don't need all-wheel drive. 1,000%. Do it. Do it. It changes your entire driving experience. 1,000%. And also, 1,000% agreed. Yeah, Thunder Midnight Purple is just so wonderful. But yeah, so this, it changes the wheels because obviously we have to have a staggered setup, only available on as part of this particular edition, and it gets rid of the Syrian Gray, which but I love this car. I don't have the money for this car, or rather, I should rephrase, I don't have the liquidatable assets for this car, but I would happily get this car. I just can't fit an entire family in here. Yeah, so true. Well, here's my thing. At the end of the day, the thing that really matters when it comes to any of these cars, whether you get BMW, whether you get Honda, like whatever you get, whatever you buy, all-wheel drive isn't the necessity. It helps. It's not a necessity. It all comes down to tires because if you have, say, I don't know, an old Subaru STI, fantastic car. You know what it doesn't have? Winter tires. So the second you have fantastic performance, you have a great manual transmission, you have all-wheel drive. The second you get into snow, you are screwed because it only had performance tires. The second you throw winter tires on that, it's fantastic. I've had my Miata, I had winter tires on it. My minis, my electric ones, front wheel drive, I had winter tires on it. Just it's for the price that it usually takes to add all-wheel drive, just get front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, whatever it is, and just spend that money instead on a second set of winter wheels and tires. You can use Tire Rack and get them for about $1,200 to $1,800. That's the same as going all-wheel drive, and you get a better experience because you're specialized for whatever you're doing. You know, rest my case. Thank you, Greg. So yeah. So I'm trying to think. I basically went over all that stuff. The only thing that's kind of worth knowing here is that BMW is so. One rumor that's going around there that I do want to kind of go on the record on and say here is yes, a lot of manufacturers that are out there. So Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, all these other companies, Tesla, and all that. I do have to give credit to Tesla. I think they did something right in the way that they did their subscription packages. I don't think paying monthly for full self driving is the way to go if you don't get it right off the bat. It's a good way to recoup costs for it. But in terms of giving the most essential things with the car, pure and simple, straight off the bat. They're doing that with iDrive 9 and the premium or the digital standard connections. I think that is the perfect, brilliant way to do it. It's little things like if you use the onboard navigation, you decide you don't want to use something like Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you have everything you need right there in the car. It gives you the things that you need. Like what do you need? You need remote access to the car. You need to be able to, you know, check things on your car remotely. That's for lifetime of the vehicle with the newer iDrive 9 setup. And you want to have, if you use the onboard navigation, you want to be able to have traffic on your route. That's not standard in Tesla unless you update or upgrade to the premium connectivity. You get all that standard for the lifetime of the vehicle, whether you want it or not. It is there standard, and it does the live traffic on your route as well as your alternative routes, so you know which way is the best way to go. Do you need to know all the traffic all around you? Personally, I don't think so. I don't care what's happening in North Jersey if I'm not going to North Jersey. So having something that's only on your route makes perfect sense. And yes, I loved. I had a, oh God, was it a '68 Oldsmobile? It was a couch. A couch. That thing was great. Ran like a champ. Thirsty as hell on a V8, but it just went. I missed that car. It was a really comfortable car. It is true. I do have to say that I think that the whole reason that good cars are kind of stopped being made is because most people, to make cars better over time, cost more money over time. Without getting into politics of it all, I think as it goes further and further, it basically shows you that scaling of new technologies costs money. And unfortunately, that increases the price. And the problem with that is no one's salaries are growing at the same rate as cars are. So, like, for instance, the new Countryman. If I remember right, I think the Countryman started at like 28 or 30, 32,000, somewhere around there, between 28 and 32,000, starting on the previous F60 chassis. I think that is awesome. Go team. With the newer one, it is amazing. You get so much stuff with it because it's iDrive 9 based. They have a freaking amazing high resolution OLED round display, the only one in the entire industry. It gets a 4K front facing camera, all these great things that, are now coming in on the base X1, which is huge and super impressive. Give me one quick second. Yes, I am at my desk. I'm still live streaming, but nope, still live streaming. A car under my name. All right. I'll go ask. It might be a 228 Grand Coupe that I had the key out for. Anyway. Alrighty. Hi. Sorry about that. Said that would eventually happen, but yes. Oh, I actually did a video on that. If you want, I will post that in the comments here. I'll do that as a side note over here, so that way I'm not interrupting the live stream as we do this. But anyway, like I said, getting back to on topic, this little guy right here is the virtual showroom that allows us to do lots of builds and configurations. We can then print out a nice little side thing for you to show you everything you have in the car, as well as a quick and easy way to see your build codes, so you can pull it up wherever you want, give us to a dealer, whatever you have, and when they make you your own little printout, gives you everything you want, everything that's in it, what's in the packages, standard equipment, specifications on the vehicle, and of course things like, hey, this is me, and here's a quick way to download the My BMW app if you're new to BMW. So they give this kind of stuff to you. It's 6 pages altogether, quick and easy to get. I'm on the other screen right now. I apologize you can't see this other screen as I'm pulling this up, but I want to post this in the YouTube Fort. Alrighty. All right, pulling this guy up right here. Copying that, coming back in the stream thread here, and 1, 2, 3, post and go. Alrighty, guys. So that is the hour. That's kind of all the time I allotted for this live stream right here. I appreciate you guys all checking in. Thanks for everyone, and alrighty. Actually, reminds me. Let me see what happens if I hit that. Huh, interesting. All right, this thing is not letting me post this. YouTube's not letting me post a YouTube link. That's very interesting. Alrighty. So again, that's all the time I have for this live stream right now. Thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks for taking the peek, going over this with me, taking the time out of your day to, just jump in here and see what's happening here. And yeah, if you found this thing cool, let me know in the comments. If you're catching this after the fact as a recording of this, let me know if you guys liked how this looked. And, we'll see what we can do in the future. Maybe I'll do more of these right here, or I'll make this setup at my house when I do the late night versions of these. And let me know if you guys prefer doing this during the day versus at night. And Greg, if you need this, simply go to, on YouTube, go to BMWFortWashington.com. Search for BMW Fort Washington Highway Assist. There is an actual video that walks through all that, as well as the first-person view. I have a little camera on here on my head, showing you what I see as we do it, going hands-free, all of that on YouTube itself. So have access to all that. And here, I'll post this on this. YouTube. Alrighty. So again, that's it. To everyone that watched, thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Last but not least, I already said this twice, but if you liked seeing this thing live in this style and this setup, let me know. And yeah, just thanks for coming in and seeing that you guys are the bomb. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Any other videos you ever want to see, also comment that, whether it's here live or whether it's separate. I'll do my best to always do whatever you guys want. Obviously, without you guys, this thing doesn't exist. And I'm just simply doing this to an empty crowd. So, whatever you guys want, let me know in the comments. Any future videos you want, we got you covered. And with that, thanks so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.